What is the deal with Instagram? Like, why is everybody leaving? Aloha, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back. If we've been locked in, my name is Sasha and let's talk about Instagram. Okay, everybody leaving might be like a little dramatic. I'm gonna hold that one. It might be a little dramatic, but I have been seeing this trend over the past few weeks, actually past few months, about people talking about how it's not fun to be on Instagram anymore. They don't really feel connected with it, or they've just disabled the app completely. And I think there are several reasons to that, several reasons why that is happening. And I want to talk about them in this video. So first and foremost, when it comes to social media platform usage, Instagram is still in the top 5. At number 1, we have Facebook, which is very interesting to me. And by the way, when I pulled these figures, it was by monthly active users. So it was not necessarily people with accounts, but people who are actively using those accounts. So it'll be really interesting to see if there is a disconnect or what the numbers would look like if it was just people with accounts as opposed to monthly active users, and how many people are actively using their accounts on a monthly basis. So these were stats for September 2024, and the figures have it number 1, Facebook, which I guess still makes sense. There are a lot of people still using Facebook. I haven't touched my Facebook in months now. I kind of just pop in there to see what's happening. I don't even know why I still have this enabled on my phone because it's kind of distracting, but Facebook will still send push notifications, so I'll get updates from people I haven't seen in a minute. And some of them are nice to see, like people who I've kind of lost touch with but don't really have any ill will towards them. You know, you can see their kids growing, or life updates, you know, they bought a house or they got another degree, or they're just doing good, you know, traveling, living life. And I kind of love those, but I'm not really active on Facebook. A lot of people still are. So at number 1, we have Facebook. Number 2, YouTube, where you are watching this. Number 3 is WhatsApp. Number 4 is Instagram, and number 5 is TikTok. Those are the social media platforms and apps that have the most active monthly users. That's where they are numbers wise. When I saw WhatsApp on there, I was very curious because I don't think WhatsApp is a social media app or platform. And I really don't think I wouldn't qualify YouTube either as a social media platform or app, but maybe I don't know, I have to sit with that one. But anyway, so Instagram is still in the top 5. It still ranks before TikTok when it comes to people who are on the app and actively using it. However, I have increasingly felt myself becoming more disengaged from Instagram. And I think a lot of other people are starting to feel that as well for several reasons. So the big one I see, and that I 110% resonate with, is this idea of monitoring spirits. You know, people who are just watching your content, but they're not actively engaging in terms of liking, commenting, sharing, things like that. Like when I post, I don't really post as much in feed as I used to. Like during Coviana, I was on it. I was posting, like I had a consistent posting schedule, and I was trying to grow on that app, and I did. I haven't reached 10,000 followers yet. I think last time I checked, I was sitting at 6,000 something, but I really enjoyed the Instagram experience. It was a great way of connecting with people, especially locally. And I really liked Instagram, but I noticed a shift in my attitudes during the panorama and how people were engaging, and it kind of became a looky-loo app. Like people are keeping up with you and keeping tabs on what you're doing, but they're not interacting with what you're doing. You know, they're not liking, they're not sharing. And it would be one thing if people aren't seeing your content, right? But it's another thing entirely when you're getting thousands of views, but the likes don't match up with the views or the comments. You know, it's just a little weird. Or people who never miss a story, they're the first ones to watch your story, but if you're posting something in feed, they're not liking it or engaging it. And it is entirely possible that they're not seeing the content that you're posting in feed, or that stories are getting more pushed. But you know, most people, when they post a story in feed, they're going to share it to your story. So it's like you're seeing it in my story, but you're not going to the feed and checking it out and liking it. Like, it's weird. And you know, I may not necessarily, I don't want to say it's weird, because just because they're seeing it doesn't mean they really care for that piece of content and they don't want to interact with it. And you know, to like something, to share something, to comment on something, more often than not denotes some type of agreeance with that. Like, you like it, you want to see more of this, and they may just not, you know, and that's valid too. But I have generally, I've felt that kind of monitoring spirit come my way, that energy, and it's not people who necessarily mean well for you. And I think that's an easy fix, right? Like if you are not really engaged with someone, or you just feel like someone is there for the wrong reasons, you don't have to add them to your following list. You can remove them, you can block them. If you don't want to see somebody else's content, you can, mute them, unfollow. But there's so many politics around the mute and unfollow. Well, not the mute. Nobody knows if you're muting somebody, but there are so many politics around the unfollow, to the point where people are looking at celebrities or just random influencers following lists and to indicate what their relationship is, or if the status of their relationship has changed. Like, oh, they're not following each other. Like, it makes trending news. And it's like, that is crazy. That I think it's actually crazy that there are people who pick up on these things, because I would never pick up on anything like that, but there are other people who do. And in fact, like a little story time, one of my friends, during Coviana, and just, I'm the type of person, I have to force myself to sit down and engage on these apps. So if you send me a message, it can be anywhere from like 2 to 3 days, or sometimes 2 to 3 weeks. I'm really trying to work on this. Please don't judge me. I'm not the best person about getting back to messages, which is why I always say, please pick up the phone and call me, or text me. And text messages I'm trying to get better at too. So please email me. Like, if it's something that is important, please email me or call me. Like, if you send me a message, especially on a social media platform, it's gonna take me a minute. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Okay, but anyways, yeah, like story time, one of my friends over the panini, she was going through her own situation, and she felt that I wasn't being there for her as a friend. And something that she brought up to me, she was like, didn't you notice I stopped watching your stories? And I was like, no, I didn't notice, actually, because once I post something, I will generally just ghost. I'll post it, and unless something is calling me back to the app, like, people commenting on something, then I'll go back and, reply to comments. But I'm not like sitting there looking at my stories like, oh, who's watching my story, who's not watching my stories, because that's just not me. And at the time, I was a lot busier. Like, I had a lot going on. Even though we were supposed to be bored in the house, I was in the house, but I was doing things. So I just didn't have the time to devote, or that wouldn't have been the best use of my time, to sit there and be looking at who's watching my stories, who's not watching my stories. So, she was like, haven't you noticed I don't watch your stories anymore? I don't engage with your content. And it's like, no. And that snowballed into something else. But anyways, all of this to say that, there's definitely this monitoring spirit aspect that can come to Instagram. And I think the weirdest part of that is when you see that it's somebody's birthday and you watch their story and you see it's their birthday and you don't say happy birthday to them. Like, that shit is weird to me. Like, you see it's my birthday. Why wouldn't you be saying anything? Why wouldn't you say happy birthday to me, or even like the post? Like, I have always thought that is weird. But there's somebody probably out there watching this video now that it's like, I think it's weird that you would expect me to say happy birthday to you if I really don't know you like that, or if I'm not close to you, but like, you're following. So something is keeping you engaged. I don't know. So the idea of monitoring spirits, it is real. And if you are genuinely feeling like that, please just go through your follow list. Don't let it drive you off the app entirely. Just go through who is following you and remove them. You can do that. I've done it before with people who I'm just not really close with anymore, who I'm not engaged with. They're not checking me out, I'm not checking them out, and there's no real reason for them to be there. And I know if you are trying to grow on that platform as a content creator, and I know there are a lot of social media gurus out there, they will encourage you to go through your following list and purge people who are not following you. And I think that is also a really good thing to do, because some of us, we let those monitoring spirits get inside of our head. Like, even I let it get in my head for a minute. I really don't post on Instagram like that anymore, because it kind of feels like nobody is interested in what I have to say and what I have to post, and I'm trying to figure out like how to use that platform in a way that gets across my message while also connecting with people in an authentic way. And I think it's increasingly harder to do that because of Instagram's algorithm. So if you're feeling in that place where it makes you kind of apprehensive to post content anywhere, but especially on Instagram, I would encourage you to just go through your following list and purge people who are not actively engaging with your content, and they haven't in a while, if that's something that you are mindful of or that's preventing you from posting content. Because it can be a little scary to like post something and nobody engages with it. And I know we're supposed to get away from vanity metrics. You know, we always say don't look at the numbers, but if you are trying to build your platform and you're trying to build your audience, the numbers, the analytics do matter, right? So if you want to kind of create a new community or just bring some freshness and newness to your page, because that's kind of of what I want to do. I'm kind of in this place where I want to like pivot and try something new. And I think for me to bring some freshness and newness to my page and get people excited, get me excited about what I'm posting again, you know, maybe I need to do that. Like the last time I did was maybe like 7 or 8 months ago. So maybe it's about time for me to go through and do kind of like a purging to get those monitoring spirits away and make me feel excited about posting again. The idea of monitoring spirits is something that I've seen a lot of people say, and I think it's valid. I think it's real, especially if you get inside your head about it and it makes you second guess what you're posting or who your audience is, right? If you're not feeling like you're connecting with the people who are following you, definitely go through who is actively following you and kind of create space and create room for more people, for new people. People are going to be excited and ready to pick up what you're putting down. Amen, amen. I think the second reason why a lot of people are just moving away from Instagram or just don't feel excited about posting and are just leaving the app in general is just this lack of connection. Not just a lack of connection, but also a feeling of disconnect. And I think it can be, this is for two reasons, especially the feeling of disconnect. If you joined, I think I joined Instagram in either 2013 or 2014. So I've been on there a lot of my 20s. Now the thing about it, a lot of my 20s and all of my 30s thus far, I've been on Instagram. In that process, I've been through different phases of my life, at least 4 or 5 different phases of my life. So the followers that I had initially on the platform when I just joined were people I went to college with, I went to high school with, I was maybe going to some fitness classes with here and there, just met in the places around me. And then I moved somewhere different and then I met new people there. I became a fitness instructor. I met people through that. You know, people are following me from taking my classes, or they're following me from different brand deals or whatever. You know, you're meeting people through different phases of your life. These ambulances have been really popping off lately. But anyways, you're meeting people through different phases in your life. As we grow through our life, especially your 20s and your 30s, where there's a big time of change, the people you met at one stage in your life, you may not necessarily be taking those people into the next stage. It kind of feels weird, or it's a little bit challenging when you lose that connection with them, but the only thing that's keeping y'all engaged is because you follow each other on this social media platform where you're seeing what's going on in each other's lives, but you're not necessarily interacting one-on-one in a tangible way, you know, meeting up or getting dinner or hanging out, you know, in-person interactions. You start to feel not as connected. And I think we get this false sense of community and connection from social media apps and platforms. And I don't want to say like false sense of connection, like I'm trying to diminish or dismiss how real the communities and the bonds we form online are and how they can impact and benefit us in real life. But online interaction can only go so far. You know, you can only connect with someone online to a certain extent in ways that are more deeply felt and real in real life. Sometimes when I scroll through my feed, I'm like, I really like the people that I'm following. I have not seen a lot of these people in years. I haven't talked to them in years. Like, we are not connected the way we used to. And if you got on Instagram or any social media platform at a really young age, you know, in your 20s, or even, you know, people in their 20s now, social media has been a thing for them since they were in elementary school, you know, since they were adolescents, since they were teenagers. And so they have an even longer like space and time of change and people just following them through these different phases in their life where you don't feel as connected anymore. And I think that lack of connection really dilutes the user experience. And that's not necessarily Instagram's fault. I think that's just a matter of life. We are just holding on to people now because of social media in ways we probably would not, and we don't in real life, because I only talk to like 2 people from high school actively in my daily life that I've spent time with them, that I hung out with them since high school ended, which for me was, oh my goodness, next year it'll be 20 years since I graduated from high school. That is crazy. But yeah, so in that 20-year span, I've only hung out and spent time with like 2 people, maybe 3. Everybody else from high school, I don't see them, I don't talk to them, I don't engage with them, I haven't been to any reunions, nothing like that in real life, in person. But online, I'm still friends with a lot of those people from Facebook, from the very early days of Facebook, less so on Instagram, but every now and again, some of them will pop up and want to friend me. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't need to, we don't need to connect in this way. There's nothing that's going to tie us together aside from the fact we went to high school together and we weren't even friends then. So you're just like following me to, just kind of, again, be a monitoring spirit, see what I'm doing, see how I look good still. Amen, amen. Face card has never declined. Been that girl. But anyways, and it's not Instagram's fault that we are still connected with these people in a way that feels very superficial, but it does drive and increase that feeling of disconnect. Like I'm just scrolling through and I'm seeing other people's highlight reel and I don't feel any type of ways about these people. So again, who is my community and who am I posting for? It's very easy to feel disconnected, disengaged, just that lack of tangible connection you would get with people in real life. And I think that is because we are bringing way too many people with us into our present that in real life, under normal circumstances, in the times before social media, we would have left behind, and it would have been no ill feelings. That's just life. And I kind of already touched on this a little bit, but this needs its own separate discussion. Instagram very much so feels like one giant highlight reel, and it's gone the way of Facebook in that way. Like I remember the early days of Facebook where it was crazy. The things we were posting on Facebook in those early days, oh my God, like 10, 15 years ago, I went through and hid and deleted a lot of things because I was like, this is not content that needs to be on anybody's social media platforms. Get rid of it all. Get rid of it all. I did a giant purge, said goodbye to my college days and left that behind. Facebook used to be just wild. It used to be wild, but it's kind of changed, and it changed when it opened up to people who were not in college, because I don't know if y'all remember in the early days of Facebook, it was only open to people with EDU addresses. Attending a college or a university, you had to have a college or university email address to join the platform, and that kind of made it a very exclusive experience in a way that I don't think any other social media platform was able to capture and has not since been able to capture. And so you're all in the same span of life, the space of time. And so what you were sharing was different, and then things really did shift not only when they opened it up to people who did not have EDU addresses, who weren't in colleges or universities, but also when other generations, older generations started joining the app. And I just think over time, we grew up, us early innovators, the millennials who were first on the app, we also grew up. And so the way we used Facebook started to change. It kind of became a status update, oh, graduated, bought a house, got married, had kids. It kind of turned into a life update platform where people are just posting the highlights, right? And it can be messy sometimes. Listen, Father's Day on Facebook is my favorite day. I used to wake up on Father's Day, call my dad, have a good key with him, have a good conversation, tell him I love him and everything, pop some popcorn and hop on Facebook because I knew it was about to be go time. Father's Day on Facebook, Facebook used to be crazy. Maybe it still is. I don't know. I don't be on it like that anymore. But anyways, yeah, Facebook, Joe, it just started to change, and I don't know, it became less fun. It became less fun and it became very shiny, people showing off. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody is free to use social media platforms in any way they see fit. But I definitely did notice that the energy shifted on Facebook when it became a highlight reel. When everybody wanted to kind of flex and floss, all that glitters isn't gold. And so then it kind of became this whole relationship goals things. And I told people, or I've always felt very strongly about the fact that you cannot tell what's going on in someone's life based on what they post on social media, because all that glitters isn't gold. Somebody could be posting all of the best things, but inside they're dying or they're falling apart or they're swimming in debt, or, you just never really know. Facebook kind of became this really toxic kind of place, and just fake. Let me not say toxic, I would just say fake. And that fakeness that we saw on Facebook is now starting to kind of proliferate on Instagram. And again, the early days of Instagram were connecting with the people in the community around you. It wasn't until I would say mid 2010s, 2014 through 2017, where people like really started launching careers off of Instagram, like in the terms of being an influencer and content creators. Like that's something that was really, really new. And I think that's when we started to see that kind of shift in manufactured images making their way on over to Instagram. Very curated feeds, very curated experiences, a lot of advertisements, a lot of brand deals, you know, and it changed the user experience. And now you're seeing highly curated images, which have led to an increase in how people feel about themselves. I remember this doctor talking about Snapchat face and Instagram face, how people were taking photos of themselves with filters on and then coming in and saying, I want my face to look like that. Like I want plastic surgery to look like my Instagram face, to look like my Snapchat face. This highly curated experience, this highly curated feed showing only the good parts, showing the shiny parts, you know, it stripped away this realness from Instagram. And now if you are not living a certain lifestyle, it can almost feel weird posting on Instagram, or it feels like nobody is interested in what you have to say. It changes the user experience. It can kind of make you feel bad about yourself. And like, yes, we tangibly understand that comparison is a thief of joy. Like for me personally, I'm not looking at anybody's life and being like, well, my life is crap in comparison to that. Like I love my life. Everything is good over here. I don't want what anybody else has had, because I also live with the mentality that what is for me shall not pass me. Amen, amen. So if something is meant for me, it's on the way, and whatever that person has, it's meant for them. While also recognizing that not everything you see on social media is real, but there are people who don't have that same level of, you know, just understanding. They haven't come to that place yet. And so they are looking at things people post, and it's making them feel bad about themselves, and they don't want to be there anymore, or they don't feel really connected to the app, you know? And I think that's real. I think that's valid. Like we shouldn't be letting other people and what they're posting dictate our posting experience, but we also have to understand that and have empathy for the fact that there are people who are more susceptible to comparison and allow comparison to make them feel badly about themselves, or what somebody else has makes them feel badly about what they don't have. As many people as there are who exist in abundance mentality, and we understand that what is for us shall not pass us, and our life is great just the way it is. Like no such thing as a life that's better than yours. For as many of us that are existing in abundance mentality, there are also a lot of people that are existing in scarcity mentality, and that's marketing 101 right there. You know, every product that you're buying, every service that you're using, they're going to make you feel some level of pain point. They exist to make you feel like, hey, I need to buy this. I need this in my life so my life will feel better. A lot of these products and services exist for the exclusive purpose that people feel badly about themselves. You know, that's how a lot of industries make their money. They make their money by making people feel that scarcity. And we are just now in an age where you feel that scarcity online. It's right in your hands, at the tip of your fingertips, 24/7. You just hop on and you scroll, and you're introduced to what everybody has that you don't. And it creates this feeling of longing and wanting. And that's, our brains were never designed for this. Like the way social media is created, it is something that our brains were never designed for. They have not evolved to be able to process what we are receiving. And I think it's very interesting that a lot of the people who own these platforms or created them themselves, and not just these social media platforms, but also smartphones, they don't let their own children use them. They themselves are not on these apps. They themselves are not using a lot of these devices. And I think it really says something. I think that speaks volumes about the ways in which they are aware their product is something that is not good for us. That is not normal and natural to the human condition. They're making them as addictive as possible. They're evoking certain emotions in you, and they want to profit off of those emotions, but not at their own expense, and not at the expense of their own children. So just something to think about, but I digress. So in the same way Instagram is becoming one giant highlight reel, it is also one giant ad. I think I was just scrolling over Coviana, and I noticed that every one, like 3 to 6 posts, it was an ad, and then there's sponsored content. And it's gotten so insidious that now they have changed the regulations that you have to disclose if something is a sponsored post or an ad, because there were so many things being posted on our feeds that people were not aware of that they're being sold to. And as we are increasingly existing in an age of digital marketing, social media marketing, influencer marketing, we need to be more cognizant of what we are taking in. If what people are reporting, something that they're sharing that they love, love, love so much, do they love, love, love it so much because they're getting paid to advertise it to you, to sell it to you? You know, the ways in which we are constantly being sold to is actually, like, again, something our brains were never made to take in at this level. And we need to be more cognizant and practice discernment about the ways in which our emotions are being manipulated and how they are influencing our actions, especially our spending habits and buying patterns. Like, Prime Day is coming up. Do you really need those things though? Like, think about it for a second. I think it's like, that's really frustrating people. A lot of people are very verbal now and vocal about how they're tired of being sold to. They're tired of being influenced. We are now entering a stage where there are de-influencing influencers telling you things that you actually don't need, and downsizing and minimalism. The fact that these trends and aesthetics and habits are on the rise, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's in direct response to this consumption, overconsumption that we have been seeing over the past few years. That overconsumption and buy and constantly being sold to, that's just really distasteful to a lot of people. I've noticed it a lot on Instagram, and it's just kind of made me be like, ugh, I'm not trying to be on this app for any long period of time. And the same thing is now happening to TikTok. The TikTok shop has completely destroyed TikTok for me. Like, I really am so, I won't say it's destroyed it, it's just made it a very annoying experience. Like, you hop on the app and they try to toggle you automatically to the TikTok shop, and I'm like, I don't want anything from here. I've never bought anything on the TikTok shop. I don't have a TikTok shop. I get emails every other day like, congrats, you've been invited to join the TikTok creator shop. And I'm like, no, no. I'm good. I don't need this, and you don't need this. But the fact that we are being sold to all the time is absolutely diluting the social media user experience, and it's pretty annoying. And if TikTok is not careful, they're gonna see the same thing happen as has happened on Instagram, where people are just over the app in general. I just sat here and said all this stuff about influencer and social media marketing, and now I'm gonna touch on why people are leaving Instagram from an influencer content creator standpoint. And just bear with me, because I think it's valid and I think it's real. If you are an influencer or content creator, Instagram is so hard to grow on. Like, I think I've been at 6,000 something followers for like maybe a year or two now. I'm not tripping about it. Again, it is really not the end of the world. I promise I'm not complaining about the numbers. Like, I understand acutely that it is all vanity metrics, but it is real. Those metrics do matter. Those analytics matter if you are trying to become an influencer or a content creator and get noticed and pick up brand deals and connect and partner with brands. It is very hard to make that happen on a platform like Instagram, where they are not really invested in pushing your content if you don't have a certain amount of following. They're not really interested in pushing your content if either A, you don't pay to promote it, or B, you don't have a level of a following. Like, Instagram rewards numbers. Instagram rewards people with huge followings. And so if you do not have a huge following, it's really hard for you to kind of get discovered and build that and have people see your content. Trying to become a creator and influencer is such a completely different experience on TikTok, because the algorithm, it is not as, I don't want to say archaic as Instagram, but it is very sophisticated. Your For You page knows you better than you know yourself, and it'll feed you content you didn't even know you wanted based off of your past behavioral patterns or viewing patterns, whereas Instagram is not like that. Like, the Instagram algorithm has not caught up. It's not as sophisticated. TikTok does such a good job about bringing new people to my face based on other things that I've liked, and I'm like, oh, I would have never seen that person if I didn't know they already existed. And that's kind of how it is on Instagram. You have to know somebody's already existed to go and search for their content, because Instagram is not going to organically show you this person's content. And you know, I think they became really confused over Kofiana and introduced Reels, but they didn't know what they wanted to do with Reels. And where TikTok shines is it has direction. Like, yes, they post you can post photos on TikTok, but it's more of a video based app. And so it's going to serve you different types of videos. Whereas Instagram, it's like, do I want to serve you Reels? Do I want to serve you photos? Do I want to serve you carousels? Do I want to serve you subscriptions? Like, what? There's just so much going on with Instagram that it is very hard to kind of get discovered and to get in front of new people if you are not paying for it. And that's not necessarily the case pace with TikTok. When it comes to being an influencer or content creator on TikTok, you can grow so much faster. You are put in front of people's eyes. You are introduced to new people at a pace and a speed in which Instagram will not allow you to do until and unless you've reached a certain level and they feel like, ah, yes, now you are worthy of me pushing out your content to the algorithm. So people who are following you don't even see what you're posting. There are smaller creators I follow on Instagram, but I'm not likely to get pushed their content. I have to actively remember, go to their page and engage with their content. It's frustrating because a lot of brands I've heard prefer creators and influencers who have built that Instagram following, probably because they understand that it is harder to do that on Instagram than it is to do that on TikTok. But on TikTok, I feel like you are just rewarded more for your work over there as opposed to on Instagram, if that makes sense. Summing all of that up, it's not enough to drive me off of the Instagram app. Like I said, I've been on Instagram since my mid-20s. You know, it is a great way for me to keep up with people, remember people's birthdays, connect with people real quick. If I'm on the app and I need to send them a quick message about something, keep up with my friends who are across the country. There's so much value in the app and I don't think I'm ever gonna get off of it, but I don't go to Instagram the same way I go to TikTok. And it's kind of frustrating because overall, when it comes to having a pleasant user experience, I do think Instagram is a bit of a safer place than TikTok. Like TikTok is just, because of that algorithm sophistication and it's pushing out your content to whomever, you can quickly end up on the wrong side of TikTok and things can go left for you really quick. It can be a very hateful, abusive, unkind space. You have to really curate your community and use that block button expeditiously in a way that you don't really have to worry about on Instagram. Like the Instagram experience is 10 times better. I do not get any hate comments over there. Like people are a lot nicer. They're not as crazy. But unfortunately, I think that's probably the best part about being on Instagram. It's not even what the app provides. It's just, it's not as hateful as another app. And maybe that's a plus in someone's column. Like it's a plus in my column. And like I said, I'm not going to stop using Instagram, but I do think that there are changes that they can tangibly make to make the user experience a lot better, to make the app more of a place where people want to come back to. I think some of it is on us, it's on the user. Like if you feel like there are a lot of monitoring spirits and people who are just there to keep tabs on you, remove those people as your followers and block them and call it a day. Y'all don't be using the block button enough for me. Like, it is free and it exists. The block button is good for the mind and soul. I need y'all to stop sleeping on the block button and get to it immediately. But yeah, so some of it is us. Like if you find yourself being put off by Instagram, there are absolutely some things you can do to make it a better user experience. But Instagram also bears some responsibility in how people are just increasingly off-put by the app. And I think that there are some easy changes that they will make, hopefully they will make, to make it a better experience and to just also give influencers and content creators a chance to grow, especially smaller influencers and smaller content creators who are trying to build community there and get in front of people. Like, you shouldn't be punished for having a small following. Like, how are you going to build a following if you're not giving the opportunity to because the algorithm is being racist or a hater? Like, what are we talking about here? That's it. That's all. Drop down in the comments. Let me know if you're still actively on Instagram, if you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Sasha, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I don't know anybody else who has left. This is news to me.
Drop down in the comments and let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace out.